Going to start with roll call attendance.
Frank Brzezowski.
Here.
Brian. Brian Chapman. Diana Chapman. Mark Sikora.
I'm here.
Clint.
We have 4 children now, and our world revolves around them. We're a beachy family. We love going to the beach.
Paul.
Here.
Brian Gardner.
Here in Las Vegas. So this is the space.
Mel Horton.
A couple of weeks ago, we walked into space where they're building their dream home so that we can go over the ideas for the pool that we're going to be building at the same time. Let's design the dream.
Like the idea of a recessed fire pit where you walk in, you can walk right into it, you feel the water.
That's killer. I think they're going to like the design, that huge sitting area fire pit. I think that's a
I think Dave Rapture needs to mute because we can't hear Star Training Office at all.
That view, this one has a view from the unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Can you either turn TV or can you mute your mic?
Nikki, if you just called me, I'm here. And my audio is very broken.
Okay, we'll start again. Frank Brzezowski.
Here.
Brian Chapman. Diana Chapman.
I'm here.
Is Brian there too?
Yeah, he's getting signed in.
Okay. Mark Sikora.
Here.
Okay. Jessica Conklin. And Steve doesn't come. Paul. Brian Gardner. Mel Horton. Colleen Holder.
Yeah.
Ellen Ingram.
Here.
Dr. Kellogg.
Fire pit that's actually sunk down into the pool.
I'm Beck's alternate tonight. Bill Kennedy.
Here.
Here.
Jim. Tim.
That's at the door. Give her a plate of cookies.
Can't hear who she's calling.
Ellen Lewis.
Yes, he's here.
Tim Marshall.
I'm here. Thank you.
Okay. And
I can't hear which one you making all that
I had a little accident.
Hello.
hello. Kelly.
Kelly's here, but there's somebody with TV on. The audio is really horrible. And Dan is on too, but
yes, I'm
still
here, but it's
broken
an
up.
open mic. You can't hear nothing, Nikki.
Yes.
Okay.
David, mute your computer.
Jim Page. Dave Richter, we know nurse here. Jeff Sweet.
Here.
Terry Simons.
Here.
Mike. Okay, Terry, and Mike Van Beveren?
Pardon me?
Nope, that's it. Thanks, Terry. Roll call complete. We got it one.
Okay. I assume everyone got the minutes from the last meeting. Any corrections or additions, changes?
I'll make a motion to accept. I'll second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the minutes from the prior meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I
Motion carries. Correspondence. The first that I'd like to share with you all And I wish that I could figure out how to make this easier for everyone to see, because it's kind of cool. To Southern Tier Regional Emergency Medical Services Council members. Thank you all for the wonderful and much appreciated gift basket. I will think of you as I enjoy my retirement and sip my wine. I wish you all well and stay safe. Hugs, Mary Ann Teeter. So, like I said, I wish that we could pass this around. I wish that I could figure out how to show it to everyone better on camera, but wonderful. Jimmy's favorite part of the meeting, correspondence from the Department of Health. March 23rd, 2021, as a result of an investigation conducted by the Department of Health, following individuals' New York State certification has been suspended for 1 year, effective 3/13/21. Suspension stayed, placed on probation for 3 years, effective 3/13/21, and assessed a civil penalty of $2,000 for violations of Part 816A2. One, Justin Overett from Elmira, New York.
Correct, New York.
Elmira, New York. Suspended for 1 year, effective 3/23/21, suspension stayed. Placed on probation for 3 years, assessed a civil penalty of $2,000 for violations of 800.15.3 and 800.16A13. Benjamin Tesper from Hamburg, New York. Surrendered, effective 3/31/21, for violations of Part 815A1, 815A2, 816A2, 816A3, and 816A11. Gerard Botcher from West Hempstead, New York. Suspended for 1 year, effective 2/3/21, suspension stayed, probation for 3 years, effective 2/3/21, and a $2,000 civil penalty for violations of 816A2, 9, and 11. Joseph Oakes from Edison, New Jersey. And suspended for 1 year, effective 4/4/21, suspension stayed, probation for 3 years, effective 4/4/21, and a civil penalty of $2,000 for violations of 816A4. Brandon Boos of Rochester, New York. And those will be forwarded to the REMAC for their information. Upcoming events, as you know, we're moving toward the summertime. About the greatest event that I can think of is the fact that the CDC today made a big step toward relaxing masking guidelines. Anybody else have any events coming up or anything noteworthy to the correspondence?
Stop the bleed program happening in Schmoke.
Okay. Thursday, May 20th, in conjunction with EMS, we do this. A Stop the Bleed program. At 1 p.m. at the Horseheads Fire Department and 7 p.m. at West Elmira Fire Department. It's a free event. It's open to everyone. And registration Guess we can post this on the website.
It's actually quite a neat concept. They're doing it so like a socially distanced walkthrough. You walk into the meeting room at the fire department, receive the classroom portion of it. You walk out into the day, and then you receive the hands-on part of it, and then you walk out the bay.
Interesting. That reminded me actually, EMS week is coming up next week. Very low key this year, of course, with everything else that's going on, but for myself and I'd like to thank you all for sticking with our system in this region for another year. I'd like to thank all the agencies and all the individual providers that have been with us through the past year. All the work really doesn't go unnoticed. Obviously, we lost a couple providers during the pandemic. And we pause to remember them as well. But I would wish everyone a very happy, quiet, and successful EMS week for 2021. If there are any other events going on in the region for EMS week, go ahead and forward those to Jeff. If you guys have anything local, anything that you'd like to share pictures or video from your EMS week activities, go ahead and forward those to Jeff as well. So maybe we can add some things to the website. We've done approval of previous minutes already, so move to committee reports. Systems.
Systems Committee met tonight at 6:30. Brought forth en masse quite a few 5136s, probably close to 40 of them, which is the notification and the application to the Department of Health for agency to use EPCR. This is all coming from the state, kind of coercing. I don't want to coercing, maybe isn't the right word. I don't know how to use it, but they're kind of getting people onto electronic PCR. And I don't want anybody to think that I don't think EPCR programs are good, because I do believe they're good. But this is where they're tying the online CME recertification program to EPCR use. So there was quite a few agencies within our region that opted to do electronic PCR so that they could opt into the continuing education by CME, or the recertification by CME. As I stated, there was a whole bunch. We took them en masse, approximately 40 of them. And we bring it forward as a seconded motion to the council for a vote. I can read off all the names if you like, or I can provide you the list of names. Do you want me to read off the names?
I got an idea. Motion's been made. We can get a second.
Second.
Discussion. If anyone would like to hear the individual names, we could do that now in discussion.
The committee and myself personally, as well as Donnie, we went through each of the applications and made sure that they were all correct and met the requirements put forward by the state. If that helps anybody.
So, what's your pleasure, folks? Do you want to hear them, or does somebody want to call the question and make the vote?
Just take the vote, Donnie.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
just a delay, take delay. Any abstentions? Okay. Go ahead, oh, I'm sorry.
No, we had two applications for or notice of intent to provide public access to fibrillation, both from the same company, but in two different counties and two different locations. It's Pathways Incorporated. The first one was out of Corsense. They're using the Zoll AED Plus with 40 trained providers and 1 AED. Their medical director is Gary Elhert out of Grand Island, New York. He has a New York State physician license number. They have their agreement and all signatures are current and within recent date. That also comes forward as a seconded motion from the Systems Committee for to approve and forward to the Department of Health. It's a seconded motion, so it goes directly to discussion, then we can vote on it.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, the second one is Pathways as well. It's at 33 Dennison Parkway in Corning. They're using the Cardiac Science G5 AED. They have 50 trained providers with 1 AED. Dr. Elhert, again, is out of Grand Island, New York, is their physician of record. They have a collaborative agreement and the signatures are recent and good. The dates are good. That also comes forward as a seconded motion from the Systems Committee for approval.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
We had a late 5136 that came into the meeting as it was occurring. So we went and reviewed that and brought that forward. That's why it's separate from the bulk. And that's for the Springwater Whalen ambulance. They have been using electronic PCRs, but were required to provide an update. So we accepted their update and brought that forward. It is a seconded motion. They're using EMS charts and have been using EMS charts since January of 2018. So there was a change in their system for some reason, which required them to do an update to their agreement with the state.
The state required.
The state required.
They changed nothing. When you renew your ambulance certificate, the state now requires you to file that again.
Okay, all right. So there's the reason why is because they renewed their ambulance certificate and they had to file this again. So that's the reason that one came forward. That again comes forward as a seconded motion.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
We just had two quick reports from Steuben and Schuyler County EMOs. Chemung County wasn't present. Tim reports that their EMS survey, or not survey, what's the right word for that, Tim? Their EMS
Study.
their EMS study is near completion and hopefully will be done or be presented to the county by the end of the month. Tim has also been appointed to a new position, the Director of Public Safety, overseeing both the 911 Center and the Emergency Management Office of the county. Congratulations or commiserations, Tim, either way. Bill reported that they're bringing on a new EMS coordinator that's going to be shared with Yates County, 50-50 between Yates and Schuyler County. His name is Ryan Bailey, and I believe that Ryan may be on tonight. So we'll just welcome Ryan Bailey and to the Southern Tier region. And that's all I have for systems.
I have a question for the Chair of Systems.
Yes, sir.
I just want to be certain that all of those companies that were mentioned, the 40 some they will be listed separately in our minutes.
Yes, they are gonna be listed separately in the minutes. I'm gonna give a list to the secretary so that she can list them all separately.
Great, thank you.
Further questions for systems? CMAC and Semsco. Has, what's that?
Maybe Al knows.
Yeah. CMAC and Semsco really has not met, correct?
Correct. They meet the 25th and 26th of this month.
Okay. I haven't started seeing a lot of information coming out yet, so, but you're right. Thanks for the reminder. And on that note, we had apparently no other interest from council members other than myself and Jimmy for nomination to the Semsco seat.
You're 50% right.
So, there we are. StreamAC met last week. Oh,
Dr. Wisniewski.
Dr. Wisniewski.
Hi, Donnie.
Hi. Oh, no, this is where you unmute and you give your report, your very first one.
So SHRMAC did meet last week. They were looking for our endorsement for the same agencies that you guys just gave the endorsement for the EPCR. Seems like things are going well with that. SHRMAC did give a lot of recognition to Airway for the work that they've been doing right now with the COVID vaccine in the community, of giving a few thousand doses of the vaccine, both in people's homes and
Wonderful.
also throughout the community, with coupling with Arnott Health, just to make sure that we had the providers available. So I thank everyone in the room who's had a part in that. Other than that, there are some other things coming down the pipeline, but there wasn't a lot going on right now, so my report will be brief this time.
Great. Questions for Dr. Wisniewski?
Just a question, has he been seated on Semsco yet?
Yes.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Or CMAC, you mean, right?
Semsco, will he be replacing Dr. Kellogg on Semsco, or what happens?
You'll be replacing Dr. Kellogg on the CMAC,
Oh.
on the medical advisory committee.
Okay,
Jimmy's and my applications need to go forward. My term, for some reason, I got a one-year term, which ended technically December 31st. However, it rolls until they make a new, appointment. So they got to pick between myself and Jimmy Kent's.
I'll make a call in the morning.
So that's where we're at.
so Dr. Kellogg was on the CMAC, right?
Correct.
Is he staying on the CMAC?
No, I've taken his place.
Okay, great, thank you, thank you.
I am his younger, more handsome, and more modest replacement.
I was gonna mention that to you, yeah.
No, just as a reminder, I guess, because it was kind of a low key thing, but, well, not really low key, but, Dr. Kellogg, decided it was time to, hand over the reins to the REMAC to, Dr. Wisniewski. Dr. started his term as, chairman of the REMAC. Of course, obviously, Dr. Kellogg remains active. We appreciate his work, and we look forward to Dr. Wisniewski's tenure as chairman of the REMAC as well. So any questions, any complaints, any late night phone calls? Dr. Kellogg asked that we please refer them from now. Dr. Waslinski.
Just a note, if I could, Donnie, we were fortunate to have Dr. Kellogg with us. On behalf of AMR, we really appreciated everything he did for the region.
And as I said, even though Dr. Kellogg has kind of stepped aside as chairman of the REMAC, he did ask to retain his council seat, and he's still a member of the REMAC. So very, very happy that we've got a robust REMAC with engaged positions.
Been the most positions sit on this remake than we've had in probably 20 years.
Yes.
Wonderful. That's wonderful.
Continue to see good things with that. So, thank you. Also along the lines in Streamback, the lawyers, you'll recall at the last meeting, we came up with a functional job description for a regional medical director, which is a separate. The regional medical director would be an employee, a contracted employee of the council. And we actually at the last meeting approved the functional job description and the proposed memorandum of agreement. It's been vetted by our legal team. A little bit of language was cleaned up to make sure it was compliant with the applicable laws. And I'd like to bring that back for final approval so we can begin the process for asking for candidates and making a determination who's going to be our first regional medical director. So I would bring that back forward as a motion to approve the final functional job description and to authorize the executive committee to begin the process for hiring a regional medical director.
I'll second that motion.
Discussion.
I thought job had already been offered to Dr. Kellogg. That's actually who reviewed the MOU along with our lawyer was Dr. Kellogg,
Okay.
who wrote the description.
Okay. And I hadn't really thought about it in that direction. And I suppose, I don't know what Teddy Krister is out there. I know he was working on it as obviously chairman of the Greenback, but again, that kind of comes up to what's everybody's pleasure. We will. What are you guys' thoughts?
Personally, I think having the regional medical director on the council makes sense. Doesn't have to be that way all the time. We have a doctor that's active in the area, that is willing to do the job. I think it's a no-brainer to take him at least as our first regional medical director. He knows the system. We know him.
I think Dr. Kellogg's a great choice.
Absolutely.
There's a motion on the floor right now. The motion would have to be modified that we accept the functional agreement. And then we would accept Dr. Kellogg as the first regional medical director. And I'll offer that as a friendly amendment to the motion.
I'll second that, Mr. Chairman.
Great. Discussion on the amendment? Okay. All in favor of the amendment to the motion, the original motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Any Any abstentions? Okay, so back to the original motion as amended. I move that we, forward,
We will.
memorandum of agreement, and offer the position to, Dr. Kellogg. Any further discussion on the motion as amended?
Call the question.
Okay, I prefer to do this roll call. It's a fairly large expenditure on behalf of council.
Quick question, what,
Sure.
what is the term that we're?
Fully released, there is no term.
I just.
Actually, the memorandum, Mickey's question was, what is the term? And her concern was from a budget standpoint. And you'll recall the memorandum of agreement that was crafted was based on the availability of funds to be allocated. So if in the future the state changes our funding or changes the regulations around our funding, then that would be the out in the memorandum of agreement. The money is no longer available for that purpose. So, and I guess as a reminder, the final savings figure was $7,500 a year with stipulated responsibilities. Among those would be acting as an emergency medical director if an agency were to lose a medical director unexpectedly. That came up, I recall a year or so ago in Schuyler County when the medical director for all of the agencies in the county abruptly decided he wanted to be a policeman instead. So we memorandum of agreement to account for potential problems that would arise and to mitigate those problems. So, and you'll also be championing the final retooling of regional QA programs as well. So very happy about that.
Was there any, Donnie, if I could have a question?
Sure.
Is there any discussion with our legal representative about our liability or any potential liability that this council may have regarding what actions our regional medical director would take?
Yeah, so basically the regional medical is a contracted service.
Right.
Going to be, and maybe forget, employee might not be quite the right terminology.
Contracted service.
But to that end, as far as the council, on another note, we were looking up another matter earlier in Article 3003. And there's an express immunity from liability for decisions that the council members make or fail to make, inherent to the duties or the responsibilities of the council.
That even drives the point home further that this person, if he's a member of the council, it does give him that protection. Is that correct?
I'm not a lawyer. So I'll qualify that up front, but during the discussions about what we were going to set for a rate and what was going to be required in the memorandum of agreement, liability or malpractice insurance, I think, factored into where we finally set the rate. It would be, I know that was a concern of Dr. Kellogg's early And I think that's inclusive in what the agreed upon.
If I remember correctly, and we can look at the MOU to say it is, but I think I believe it says in the MOU that he has to hold his own, he has to hold his own medical malpractice insurance. But maybe.
The other thing though is if we lose our medical director at Airways and he takes over during that short term, which is actually specified, the council is not acting as our medical director. He becomes our medical director in addition to being a council member. So we're not providing anyone a medical director. We're providing a person that can provide it.
So, and unfortunately, as a contractor, we gave in the memorandum of agreement a list of deliverables, if you will, things that person would be responsible for, and how he chooses to meet those responsibilities really is up to that individual.
Okay, just had a couple questions. What I'm here for.
Other questions? I know this is new territory for us. Go ahead.
Did Ms. Perugia weigh in on that? Because she had given out two different opinions.
She did send us an email and said it was approved.
Okay. That specific or your budget?
That's specific.
Okay.
Regional medical
Yeah.
director.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Great. Long as because she's ruled both ways.
Right.
I wouldn't have it any other way. It's government. Other questions? I want to make sure that everybody has the ability to provide input before we finally do this. It's been a long time coming. Seeing none? Oh, go ahead. Yes, roll. Seeing none, like I said, I'll ask for a roll call vote.
Frank Frazetta.
Yes.
Okay. Brian Chapman,
Aye.
Diana Chapman,
Aye.
Mark Sikora,
Aye.
Duvall,
Yes.
Colleen Hobart,
Yes.
Alan Ingalls,
Yes.
Bill Kennedy,
Yes.
Rick Kimball,
Yes.
Jim Kintz,
Yes.
Al Lewis,
Yes.
Tim Marshall,
Yes.
Dan Miller,
Yes.
Kelly Miller,
Yes.
Dave Repsher,
Yes.
Yes.
Terry Simons, and Mike Van Beveren said yes via text. Roll call vote complete, motion passes.
Okay. Thank you all. And we'll make an announcement when we get an official start date. So. Thanks again. Training and education.
Can you hear me now?
You hear me now?
Okay. Technologically not savvy, sorry. So, training committee did not meet. We've been in some discussions back and forth and kind of getting a lay of the land. Hopefully that, with COVID starting to lift here a little bit, maybe we can start getting some group ideas back as far as training and where we're going to move forward with some courses. We've been in extensive talks with some of the local hospitals down here. I've been back on board with as far as getting some training set up. As you know, AHA CPR guidelines are starting to lift a little bit, ACLS and PALS. So as it starts moving forward, we're hoping to get some of this back online. I know Brandon's been trying to push for another online training, with doing the CMEs, case reviews and stuff. The first one was very successful and had a lot of positive feedback on that. So we're trying to not just pick some out of the air, but pick some decent ones and give him the help that he needs as far as the other agencies. So it's not all on Brandon that, he kind of orchestrates it, but some of the other areas of feedback and kind of a good mix between BLS and ALS so that, both sides of them bring something home out of the classes. So we're looking at that, still moving forward to get some others. Also, we're starting to get some feedback, QA/QI. I know these regional points now with getting the first responders and some of these other agencies to do reporting with the PCR programs and stuff and get those bullet points that we're missing on. Hopefully we can get that forward. So we've got some of that to go with along with some of the ideas. So we can come up with some decent ideas. Also, when we start doing the training days again, I think it'll give us some sites to focus on and move forward to what the area really needs. As with anything, it's kind of a mixed batch right now when you start talking to a BLS agency versus an ALS agency. This is what I'd like to see. That's what I'd like to see. There's some new topics out there and we'd like to push them forward. So, but nothing really cut in stone right now. Just moving forward with what we have.
And I did sit in on the end of the grand rounds that Brandon and Frank were at, and it really worked out well. If you guys catch me offline, I heard of an interesting incident last night that kind of bordered three regions and various BLS and ALS agencies for both. So might be one to look into for the next. Other questions for training, Ed?
I will just say one other thing, and I don't know how anybody else in the region's going or any of the other areas, Schuyler, Chemung, anybody, but my class, my EMT class finished out in March, and it's been nothing but a nightmare to try and get these people tested out. The correlation between state and this PSI testing center, pass the buck to this one, pass the buck to that one. All they got to do is try and register. They're supposed to be getting an email. They're not getting an email. Call this person, call that person. I talked to the people on the line from the testing agency, and some of them are less than able to understand. I have trouble with, much less my students trying to register. I've managed to take each one hand in hand on the phone, spent numerous hours trying to get them registered for these exams, and then get a testing site that they can get into. I'm about halfway there from a class of about 22, 25 people, I think I got, that were allowed to test out, that once they pass their skills. Now, mind you, they passed their skills back in March. Usually we finish our skills station and you schedule the following Thursday for your testing. Here we are 2 months later, I'm still trying to get these people tested out, and it's been nothing but a nightmare. I don't know what the answer is, but I haven't been able to get an answer from anybody. So I'm getting through it slowly, and I hope to get them all done before the end of the month, at least get them registered to take their test. But there's got to be a better system than this.
Are there any other instructors that have been having difficulties like this? Brandon, I'm assuming your hand wave is yes?
Yeah, if I may, I think Frank is actually being quite diplomatic in his frustrations on this system.
Thank you.
The system just is not working for the student, and it's not working for the course sponsor. I have students from last June that still have not tested and are having legitimate issues with the system. Right, as Frank kind of alluded to, the PSI system just is not working. even though the students are sent the emails, often the registration process is very lengthy. It's overly involved, and yeah, the customer service is just it's not great. So it frustrates the students. They give up. We, poke, prod, and bully them into taking their exam. But yet, as we all know, the longer that goes by, probably, statistically, the less successful they're going to become. I'm, Bruce and we're still chasing down people from last June, and they're coming up due. They're going to run out of their 1-year window, and it's not their fault. So I don't know what I don't know what the solution is either, like Frank said, but yeah, from my perspective, it's just not working for the student. I wish we could go back to the old days of we all sat in a room and we tested the first night. Because then I've got everybody in the room and I've got a captive audience.
I have a question about that, Frank or Brandon. Have you talked to Gene Taylor? At the Bureau about-
I will admit, and Frank probably the same, the Bureau has been very helpful. When I call up there and I either speak to Gene or John McMillan, they're doing what they can. They're really, and I should have said that earlier. I think they're frustrated too, because they're probably putting in more man hours than they ever anticipated. But yeah, the feedback from John or Gene at the state, they've been as helpful as they can get. But I've had students who literally show up to PSI sites, two students in particular, who were on the ball, wanted to sign up for their exams very soon, probably as soon as they could do it. I had 2 separate students show up to a testing site in Syracuse, and in both cases they were told, yeah, you're not registered, leave. When they literally had, a sheet of paper saying, hey, I need to show up to the Syracuse Testing Center on this date, this time, but for some reason, PSI didn't have them in their master system. And these folks drive all the way to Syracuse or to Rochester to take the exam, and they're kind of shut out and sent home. So there's got to be a better way.
It's uncalled for. It should never happen.
It's right. And as we all know, some of our students are coming on their own dime. They're driving there on their own dime. And that's unacceptable.
Maybe Brian knows this a statewide issue. I mean, is the Department of Health aware of this, and are they trying to rectify this?
It's been really tough, and I'm not blaming anybody from the state. And as Brandon alluded to, the people that I've talked to regionals, I've talked to Don Trapezak about this, John McMillan also, numerous emails back and forth, and it seems like it gets tougher and tougher to get into Albany anytime, we do emails and phone calls, because you used to talk with a live person or a secretary. I understand, the education department especially has had some people off sick. They're working from Zoom, they're working out of their houses. So, go ahead and email, we'll give you the communications, but getting that communication link back and forth is not always easy with them either. It's not that they're not trying, but did you try this? And then I have to, I work too, just like everybody else. I'm not dismaying that, that's part of my job as their educator. But when you're in the office all day, taking care of things here and on the phone, I've had numerous phone calls with Terry, core sponsorship, making phone calls. She's doing calls back and forth. It's just like, there's no direction point to say, like anything else, I'll look at this for you. I mean, somebody comes to me with a problem, I say, I'll find what the solution is and get back to you. I don't just give them back, well, try this, well, try this. And that's what I'm getting. It's like 3 and 4 of try this, try this. It was literally a month just trying to get these people into the site to register, because every time you'd log into the site, it'd say, just put this in, and then it'll give you your syncs to do the register. I got more talking between Terry and Brandon than I did out of state and PSI. Brandon tipped me on to some tricks that he had learned, and we finally got, like I said, I got about 50% of them done now. In the past 2 weeks, we've been getting more and more moving forward, but it's literally taking each one by the hand and doing the step-by-step process with them. And, some people, just aren't computer illiterate. I'm not computer illiterate, so, when they say log into the site and fill these blanks and they get all the way to the registration process. And it's just like Brandon said, I had a couple of the same thing, went to the site and couldn't test. I had a couple that logged into the site and then they couldn't get any farther. It would take all their personal information to get ready to where they were going to set up for the testing. And it says you are not eligible. It's like, what do you mean he's not eligible? He's got his testing number and everything. And because they didn't have something correct in their system, and it took me yelling at this person to say, look again, did you see the name? And it was something as simple as, it might have been John J. Bailey. And in the system, it was marked John G. Bailey. It was right on my paperwork and it was right on what we filed, but because they had it as a G and not a J, they wouldn't allow that person to register. And until I talked to the person, says, no, you've got a mistake there, and then made the correction. But it's taken hours to do each one.
When did your course complete, Frank?
March 18th, 17th.
Brandon, how long's it been since your people finished the course and they haven't tested?
Yeah, so we had two recent cohorts. We had June of 20, and then we had a cohort graduate in January of 21, and we still have a small group from each class that have not tested because of various issues with their system. And sadly, the PSI customer service is just that. You're talking to somebody, I don't know where, and you get kind of put on hold. And, like Frank said, it just gets frustrating for us because we've all got enough to do. And sitting on hold for 35, 40 minutes with a PSI customer service person, just, it gets old real quick.
Sorry to hear
so
that. A lot of it's COVID. I mean, these guys it's off the charts what they've been challenged with the past year. I will defend them in some part. We all have, but we need to get back to business, get these people certified and licensed. That's.
I suggest that maybe the council send a letter with our concerns to the state and just voice our concerns so that I'm sure they're fully aware, but at least we're on record saying this isn't right and it needs to be resolved.
Well, as a Semsco member, I'm going to reach out, but I think it's your comment and the suggestion is right on target too, Tim. I just feel bad for these students.
Yeah.
Spend all this time, all this money, and still don't have a card in their pocket.
We had a challenging year, as everybody knows, with COVID. We danced around with our class. We made exceptions to the rules, breaking the class in half and separate nights and making sure we had our social distancing, checking everybody when they came in and keeping the spacing, wiping everything. I mean, it was a difficult class as it was, but to still have these many people come forward to try and help their community in our area, they're all volunteers and some very new ones. There was some refreshers there, but there was a lot of them that were new that are stepping up to the plate. And what are we talking about? Recruitment and retention and hold these people. And what do we turn around? Well, you're on your own. Here you go. Figure it out, and they're frustrated. And
those are individuals that we need in the field.
Oh, yeah.
Our volunteers in Steuben County are dwindling, and we don't have enough volunteer EMS workers. And these are people that have been through the training and can be in the field working if they could just get the exam finished and pass their exam. And it's ridiculous that we're in this situation. I understand COVID and all of that, but like Frank says, if Brandon and Frank and those guys can make twist things around to make these classes go, the state's got to make some concessions to be able to get them tested.
And if PSI is not meeting the terms of its contract, somebody needs to be holding them accountable. Wherever the system's broken, it needs to be fixed. I can craft a Brian Greenberg. I'm also gonna maybe put Brian on the spot a little bit here. You're hearing these concerns, you're hearing the frustration real time, Brian. I'll follow it up with a letter to Greenberg, but, yeah, this is nuts. This really can't be happening. When Frank told me about it first, my suggestion was, go directly to Gene Taylor, go directly to John McMillan. And I can see where quite possibly the office staff is overwhelmed, but, we gotta do something. And, we gotta do something other than acknowledge that there's a problem. Somebody's gotta come up with a solution.
I'd also be as bold to say that it's got to go all the way up to Zucker. I mean, he's the commissioner of public health. So
Right.
send it all the way up. Include Ryan Greenberg and send it all the way up to Zucker.
Can do that. Can do that. Do we also maybe need to make a legislative push?
That should be number one. Unless the health department has the authority to void the contract with this company, if it's not doing its job, it makes no sense to send our frustrations to them because they're gonna be just as frustrated. Let's get the politicians involved that actually could force the contract to be voided.
It's a statewide issue.
I don't think Biden's doing anything.
So I mean, if it's a statewide issue, maybe that's the direction we need to push in, is to let our assemblymen know how frustrated we are with what's going on and our concerns about whether PSI is meeting the terms of its contract to get our people tested. I think Jimmy's.
I think I heard Mike say it, but I would echo that this is not an isolated southern tier region issue. This is a statewide issue. As I talk to other core sponsors around the state, bigger, smaller, somewhere in between, this is more common than we know.
So everybody understands the process. When an instructor completes a class, core sponsor, he uploads his data to New York State, Gene Taylor, the education department. She reviews it, clears in the test, sends it over to PSI. Then New York State is pretty much out of it unless PSI or somebody calls back for a correction. But they're shoving the information to PSI. And to my best of my understanding, it's the PSI piece New York State's doing what it's supposed to by all accounts. Everything is going on at PSI.
That's not true, because if PSI isn't doing their job, New York State's not doing their job, holding them accountable.
I know they've had several conversations. They share that sort of thing with us. I would certainly recommend that someone attend the training ed meeting at the next CMAQ SEMSCO and actually if there's too bad there's not a meeting before the meeting to make sure everybody's on the same page.
But again, the problem is the Department of Health doesn't get to be the entity that actually signs the contract with PSI. And I see Jimmy's point that, bureau staff can be frustrated. But you got to find the people that are paying PSI and make sure that they know how angry everybody is and how poorly this company is doing with something that the state delegated to.
Is PSI the same as like the Department of Education when they certify their engineers or doctors or lawyers, or nurses, everybody else to test? Is PSI who the Department of Education uses? Is the Department of Education having the same issue that the Department of Health is having? And if they aren't, why can't the Department of Health? I don't know the Department of Education, and I don't know if PSI is maybe it's just the Department of Health using PSI, not the Department of Education.
In New York State, I don't know what other contracts they hold. I know they hold a lot of other contracts across the country. They're not a Pearson, but they're out and across the country.
So Frank, just one more question. Is that this was last March or was that last year of March?
No, this year, last March.
So you're not too far out.
No.
Not compared to Brandon and these guys that spent their own money and drove to Syracuse, but yours needs to be solved too.
Right, and with, as you know, Al, with volunteers, these people, it's a basic class, it's a basic EMT.
Sure.
They struggle, you know, and they've gotten through it, and they did well. The class did well, and so far, the ones that have tested out have done well with the test.
Sure.
But you know, the longer you get away from the material, the harder it is to take that test. It's better when it's fresh in your mind, and it's, yeah, it scares me.
What's the best number? What's the best number to reach you, Frank?
My cell, 382-9454.
I got a hand up from Ryan Bailey.
Hey guys, if I can just maybe offer you a little bit. So in Yates County, you know, we had 10 people test this year, but instead of having them schedule at testing locations, we had them choose the test at home option. And we created a testing room in our Office of Emergency Management for them. And our class ended in the middle of March, and we have one more to test right now. We haven't had many problems with them getting logged in, signed up, or anything. If they have any issues, I usually send them the user manual to sign up, and they can get right through it. But for the timepiece, it seems to have worked out really well for us. I don't know if that's something you guys can look into or do, but that's how we've kind of gotten around it up here.
Brandon, what's the best number you can be reached at?
Who attempted that and it crashed out in the middle of it. And then he had to fight with them for several weeks. Sammy, Brandon, who tried that method and it crashed and they had a big hassle with them. You know, my concern is these kids are under a whole lot more stress. Number one, they got to take a test. Number two, they're going through a new process of trying to register and then either doing it in your home or going to a testing center. And then all these struggles along the way, you know, I think they're distracted. I mean, that gentleman that crashed on was a pretty good student, and he failed the test. And I talked to him before and after. He was just so wound up. You know, it's not doing those kids any favors to put them through this. You know, the whole thing is just, it's not going to go away. The CBT is not going to go away, but it's got to be a smoother, cleaner process. You know, there needs to be something local. There needs to be something easy to register for. You know, we got to build some confidence because, you know, just like anything else, Sammy has a bad experience. He shares that with 10 people.
So I'll draft a letter. We'll send it up through the Department of Health, through Greenberg and the Zucker's office. I think what we'll do is actually copy it to our local assemblyman, express our concerns and frustrations, and actually ask who's overseeing this multi-million-dollar testing contract to make sure that they're performing to the standards they agree to. And if nothing else, maybe that'll get our assemblyman to start. Maybe spur some action. But ultimately, we got to anger the people that hold the pocketbook. Because they're the only ones that can enforce the contract. The Department of Health is kind of just along for the ride. Anything else you want to add to that, Mr. Weedman?
Not really. It's actually kind of apropos. I see some people out and about, and I don't do a lot with training, but I haven't had the complaints like from this group or heard about it. Every time I hear about it, everyone's like, "It's great, it's this, it's that," and this is actually the first time I'm hearing this. But I'm sure, I know that they were in the beginning that there were challenges, and you know, Gene and John were working through them in trying to get that stuff lined up. But I will definitely share your concerns with them.
Brandon, you got a phone number I can?
If I made to Brian's comment, it is weird. There are some people that it works absolutely seamlessly for. I mean, so you're gonna, right. And I can't all say it's all doom and gloom. There's some people who register, they do it at home. They say the home thing is nice. But you know, to me, what I thought were just some one-off issues have now not become one-offs. They're more common than not. And if I can just put it in a little bit of comparison, we have a good amount of our EMTs who take the National Registry, and pretty much all of my paramedics take the National Registry exam. And I will tell you that the National Registry exam, haven't heard a single complaint about it. Zero. It's seamless. But they do go to a center. There's not a home option yet for National Registry. I don't know if that makes a difference or not, but the registry test is pretty damn seamless.
Pearson versus
Right,
PSI.
right. It's a different contract. Yep.
Okay. Brandon, I think I'll ask for your phone number as well. If you can-
Sorry, it got busy there for a minute. 329-0029, Al.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, I'm gonna reach out to the state myself right now. I think this is crazy. And we, as Tim Marshall said, we need these people. We don't need to be waiting for a year or 9 months or, it's crazy. So I don't know, I'll get any results, but I do have connections being on SEMSCO with the Bureau and with Ryan, and they're gonna hear about it right away. And just ask them to get engaged to try to help solve it.
Anything else for training and education?
No, I'm done venting now. I try with my wife once in a while, but she just tells me to get out, so. Thank you.
You've done good. Public information.
We did not meet. Touch base on the commercials. We will need to go back to WNY and WETM. We lost our contact, so we have to start the process again. So we will be doing that over the next 3 months to get in contact with them, sit down, get new pricing, and then bring it back to the council for the next meeting. Other than that, I don't have anything. Anybody have anything for me?
All right. Q&A?
Question.
Sorry.
The coin project. Can you only get a coin through a doctor in an ER?
I think the medical directors are able to do that as well too. I mean, I think, and it doesn't mean that, you know, it doesn't mean that the doctor gives the coin, but it doesn't mean that you can't recommend to a doctor, hey, I ran into this situation. I think it's deserving of a coin. Give the doctor the information. As the doctor look at it and say, I agree with you, I'm going to give them a coin.
And I asked that because there's been some stellar performance from BLSFRs who are handing off. So they're not making it to the end point, and they've really performed, you know.
I would say forward that off to a position on the medical advisory committee.
Yeah, I thought it was any doctor in the ER, or any member of the council could award the coin. When we were looking into that before, just it had to be brought to the doctor's attention and they could review the case and determine.
Yeah. Yeah, and in the case of first response, you know, I think that actually by networking back through the REMAC, word's probably going to get to an agency's medical director or provider's own medical director who could provide input as well. So, yeah, I mean, that makes sense. For those providers that the ER docs don't see, the agency medical, by and large, are ER docs in the area. So.
Right.
It may just take bringing it to the ER doc's attention or bringing it to the agency medical director's attention to let them work through that. Anything else for QA? As I said, as soon as we secure our regional medical director, I think that'll be probably the inaugural project to retool our QA program. Finance committee.
Finance did not meet. Just go over the figures we have. We spent $1,029.85 this quarter, mostly on meetings that we've had to have here. All of them were Zoom meetings. There was $29 spent on virus protection and our mailboxes for the email. Totally for the year, this should make our governor happy. We spent $2,399.43 out of 25,000. And we had a stretch to get all that spent. So we should be getting a thank you card in the mail any day. Our quarter is up June 30th, so we got 6 weeks left. We have received a request for whether or not the council wants to replenish Stop the Bleed equipment. I don't know how many classes have been we've had in the 3 counties. Nikki checked with the 3 EMOs to see where they're at, and Steuben County came back as good. Correct. And what about Schuyler County and Chemung counties? Is here at MSTAR right now? And where are we at with those supplies?
They're worn and torn. We've used mostly Chemung counties, some of Steuben's, some of Schuyler's, ours and Arnett's. And we've done a lot of large scale. We just did 60 nursing students at Elmira College. We did all of Corning Post schools, folks. That's probably 300 people. So it's little things. I mean, some of those tourniquets are worn out, and we need to replace the quick clot liners. That's basically what we need. I mean, the legs are the legs. It's little things, but they're way past. We've been throwing out and replacing things as we come along, but.
So I guess the question the council needs to answer is, do we want to continue spending on the Stop the Bleed program? Again, we have to put in a request to the state to modify our budget. If they approve it, we do have the money. We've got 6 weeks left. So other than that, the finance committee had, we have nothing to report.
Do we have any idea how many people have received Stop the Bleed training, region-wide or in each county?
That data is not collected. It's collected by instructor. I mean, I can collect mine, Brandon's, Bruce's. I think Frank is a registered instructor with Stop the Bleed Incorporated or whatever that is. We can probably harvest that data.
We've done quite a few out here lately, Donnie, and I shamefully say they're not all registered on the site, so you'd have a little trouble tracking that data. But, you know, my thought is how about adding to the kits a little bit? I mean, we've got the legs. How about doing some of the torsos or some of the other things that, you know, we could enhance the kits a little bit and put a little bit more with them.
Personally, I had the classes, and when we did it, they're very well received. I think that having the extra props that Mr. Lewis suggests is a good idea. And it's a little difficult too, since I'm talking pre-COVID here. And really, it's a no-lose scenario for all of us to continue this. And I think it would be it'd be a disservice to not continue to fund it.
All these classes are free to the student too, so there's no money being collected for these classes.
That's great to hear, Mark. People like you need to speak up. If this is what it is, as you're saying, we need to fund it. I really think so.
So could we get
What do we need to do here tonight?
education department group what you need so that we can get that into the state for approval, because we, like I said, we'll do a modification.
So can Frank and Mark try to put something together to help with this? Frank, I thought your comments were not needed. I mean, you guys are the guys that are doing the hands-on stuff. If you could help Jim and the finance committee get something out, the Bureau, we'd love to do it.
Yeah, we could put a list together. Mark, you can add into that, whatever. Well, I'll email it to Jimmy. You can email what you think to Jimmy, and he can kind of come up with a look at what's in the kits now and what to add to it, and see what the council wants to do.
Yeah, I'll gladly do that. I'll send some insight there to Jim too.
I think it's good with the way the kits are set up right now between the three continuous counties, and they're at everybody's access. Any corps can borrow them, any corps can get them. Regionals, we've done church groups, we've done, my guys just went up and did state DOT. They did all the truck crews today, so I mean, it's more and more people are asking for it, so.
Brandon, did you have or were you just waving at?
I'm sorry, Donnie, you were cut off.
I thought, I couldn't tell if Brandon had his hand up or if he was just waving at me.
Mike and I can also, if it's all right, Mike and I can put together a little bit of a, wants or needs list as well.
That's great.
And Tim, can you do the same? Whatever you think you need to replenish supplies?
Yeah, we'll take a look at it. I think I've got Lindsay working on that, so we'll get something together for you.
Great. That's a plan.
Is we've got 6 weeks left in this current budget. So unless we want to wait to the next quarter, we need to have the council approve an amount of money that can be spent. Now, again, the state will have to approve it, but if the council wants to fund this, we need to have an amount that you guys can spend.
I do not exceed.
Yeah, how much did we spend on the initial?
$993 and change.
For all
kit.
6 kits or per kit?
That was outside the original purchase. Because you purchased 6 of the full boxes were worth $1,000 a piece.
I think the kits were $1,000 a piece.
Yeah, several thousand we spent initially. Yeah.
I think a lot of the initial upfront cost comes in those rolly boxes that I don't know if I specifically need. I mean, I have enough of the rolly boxes. I just need more, supplies replenishment, or the region needs more supplies. Because those rolly boxes, while they're nice, they're crazy expensive.
Well, I'm thinking is number to approve here tonight. About the feed. I wanted to make sure that we approve enough to cover everything that you guys potentially need. I don't want to find out that supplies are more expensive than we thought and we cut it short. I want
$5,000 was what the original purchase. But we're getting different. I would say we can make it $10,000. The state still has to approve whatever we say. So whatever equipment you guys come up with, we can send that into the state. And we're still gonna save the state a bunch of money.
Just a point of information, can we make a motion not to exceed a certain amount so that we don't have to come back here again?
Yeah, that'll work.
Yep.
That's why
I make a motion, we continue to fund the Stop the Bleed with expenditures that will be, the list of those will be presented to us by people actually using the products and not to exceed $5,000.
But a $5,000, which is a lot of money. What if that's not enough?
It's better than what we were doing 20 minutes ago.
Yep, we spent $2,400 out of $25,000.
Why don't we just make it 10 grand, not to exceed 10 grand, and then buy what we need?
Okay.
And again, the state will have to approve it, so it's not like we're just willy-nilly in the money.
Okay. I'm good. Just want to get something moving here before we get off here and should have made a motion.
All right, I'll make the motion not to exceed 10 grand to fund and restock and resupply the Stop the Bleed for the 3 counties.
I'll second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded by Jeff. All those in favor?
Question
Aye.
means if they find something new, like the torso and things like that.
Okay.
Okay,
How about resupply and update?
yeah.
Okay. Excellent. All in favor?
Aye.
Good, motion carries.
Excuse me, can I just add one thing? It's worthy to note that U of R has been a very strong partner in this. They supply us with additional kits and all supplies to go along with it. So just like to acknowledge University of Rochester.
Great. Anything else for finance? If not, I've got a short item for executive committee. Bear with me. We have 3 empty council seats in Chemung County. So there are 3 vacant seats in Chemung County. As we started looking at applications, I had mentioned earlier that when Dr. Kellogg initially came on the regional council, he came on as the chair of the REMAC. We decided to make the REMAC chair a voting council member. What we didn't think of at the time was whether that seat winds up being vacated when council chairs change, or we continue to do what we ended up doing. That was appointing Dr. Kellogg as a general member after his tenure was up. And another issue came up a couple of months ago that caught us by surprise, and that's in Chemung County. I did read Kristen Card's resignation at the last council meeting, but statutorily, according to Article 30, the EMS coordinators for each county are ex officio members. By our bylaws, we chose to make EMO directors voting members, which kind of begs the question down the road, when an EMS coordinator changes, how do we handle that as well? Because we took the unusual step, or maybe not so unusual, but we took the extra step of making our EMS coordinators voting members. So for instance, if Bill were to retire, but he still wanted to remain on the council, how do we handle that change in seat, especially if there's not a vacancy, because we're members. So what we decided in executive committee earlier tonight was that we need to revisit our bylaws and make some kind of amendment to figure out how to handle this now and in the future. So out of the 3 seats, we're bringing out a recommendation to fill 1 with the idea that we're going to be able to sort through what we need to do to stay with the bylaws to fill the other 2 in the fall. So we bring forth Brandon Rossetti with a recommendation to Chemung County Council seat. Brandon lives in Horseheads. Obviously, he's the paramedic education program director and has been active with the Training and Education Committee. Also, he was recommended by Mary Ann Teeter when she resigned. So, that motion's out there. I'd like to recommend Brendan.
I second it, Lewis.
Or is the second?
It comes forward as seconded.
Oh, it is a second motion. Okay, sorry.
So, any discussion?
He's a proven leader in EMS. He makes sense for him to be on our council.
Okay. Anything else? Then, all those in favor? And any opposed? Any abstentions? So to kind of go back to the original issue, like I said, I have 2 more applications from Chemung County. I have 2 open seats. However, one of those open seats was vacated by the EMS coordinator. So until we figure out how to resolve that, and we've also not heard from Chemung County who their new designated EMS coordinator is.
Hey, Donnie, listen, Chemung County's EMS coordinator is Jimmy Kinst. And the emergency manager was just recently named, his name is Jeffrey Gray.
Oh, yeah, I did get that earlier tonight, that's right. Article 30 lists EMS coordinator, and then it goes on to say as defined in general municipal law. So, I've got to go back and research that a little bit. But Jimmy tells me that he's not heard from your county government whether he's still the EMS coordinator or not.
With the change in the county exec, I have not been reappointed or fired or ended up missing.
We asked and you were.
So we have and I apologize to both applicants from Chemung County that are on the table. We just came to the conclusion that we really need to make sure we're in line with both Article 30 and our bylaws. So that we're not put in a position of having to tell somebody in a couple of years that they're just no longer able to serve because somebody else owns theirs. Obviously, Mark retired from that position and Mark has become an active member of the council. Dr. Kellogg has retired from chairing the RIMAC and has also become a valuable member of our council. So we needed to, thanks, Alan. Sorry about that. So that's kind of where we're at with that. And obviously we wanted to try and explain it as best we could to everyone so that it is what it is. It's something we didn't count on to start with back when we redrafted the bylaws. Any other questions? Any questions about why we're holding off till the next meeting? Okay. Moving on, the only things left were old business and new business. We heard about the vaccines. Brian Weedman, anything from the Bureau that we didn't cover tonight? No?
He's missing.
Brian's missing. Anybody else have anything? Crickets. I hear crickets. So, you know, there he is. Ha. Anything else?
All right.
You
What was the question?
thought you were going to stay? Anything else from the Bureau? That we didn't cover?
Not that I'm aware of. Happy EMS week for everyone upcoming. I know there was some awards nomination possibilities that Ryan put out a week or so ago. Other than that, I've been spending a lot of time in your southern tier area, out at Corning. And other than hopefully getting back to actually doing EMS work and not doing vaccinations and stuff like that, I don't have anything else.
Great. Then I only need one more motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, everyone.
Second.